Good morning, everyone. This is the July 26, 2022 meeting of the Dunn County Planning Resource and Development Committee. Looks like we have a quorum. We have one member on Zoom. So I'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes from July 12th. Supervisor Bjork, is there a second?
Second.
Supervisor Kinnear seconds. Any discussion or corrections? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Minutes are approved. We have a period here for public comment. So we're going to go into a public hearing and we'll have public comment in that hearing too about the rezone. So is there anybody here who wants public comment about something other than the rezone? Okay.
And Tom, I did receive one public comment by email.
Okay.
And I can read that in if you're ready. So. Okay, so this was a public comment that was received on, when was this? Saturday, July 16th, 10:40 a.m. by email. Dunn County Planning Resource and Development Committee. We are John and Judy Nutzman, live at E6232 848th Avenue, Colfax, Wisconsin. We live on Tainer Lake across the bay from these three properties, which is a short distance. In the 5 years that they have been there, they have always maintained their properties. They've been good neighbors. We have never had an issue with any of them. They take care of their property better than some cabins, homes on the lake. We're not sure why after 5 years this has become a problem, but we fully support their requests for the zoning map amendment. John and Judy Nutzman. That concludes the public comments.
Thank you, Tom. So with that, then we'll go into the public hearing for the three rezone requests, which are going to be handled all at in one hearing. Just to explain a little bit to folks who are here, what we'll do is we'll have the staff read the report and answer any questions the committee has. First of all, I'll have the staff verify that the public notices were sent out, and then have the staff read the recommendation from staff. And then we'll have an opportunity for anyone from the public who wants to speak. And if you do want to speak, come up to the podium up here. You'll give your name and address, and then I'll have to ask you to be sworn in. It's very simple. Seems a little like we're overdoing it, but it's kind of one of the requirements. So we'll ask you to quickly be sworn in, and then you can give your testimony. And then the committee will talk about it, the request, and go out of the hearing and probably act on it one way or the other immediately after that. And then we'll go on with the rest of the meeting. So you want to stay here for a whole morning. With that, Tracy, are you going to tell us? You're going to lead us through the staff presentation?
I will read the public hearing and the
Okay.
staff report.
Okay, thank you.
For sure. Yep. All right. The Dunn County Planning Resource and Development Committee will hold a public hearing on July 26th at 8:30 a.m. in room 54 of the Dunn County Government Center, 3001 US Highway 12 East in Menominee. We have three requests for a zoning map amendment. The first set of applicants is Terry and Rhonda Keister, Mark Keister, Kelly Gabriel, Monica Weber. The parcel identification number is 17038 229 12 216 004 0013. Lot 19, Town of Tainer Assessors Plat Number 1, Town of Tainer, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The request is to rezone the parcel described above from residential 1 to shoreland recreational. Second set of applicants is Joe and Monica Weber, John and Tricia Schmidt. Parcel identification number 17038 229 12 16 004 0014. Lot 20, Town of Tainer Assessors Plat Number 1, Town of Tainer, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The request is to rezone the parcel described above from residential 1 to shoreline recreational. And the third applicant is Red Cedar Landscape LLC, parcel identification number 17038 to 29121600400012, lot 18 of Town of Tanner Assessors Plat number 1, Town of Tanner, Dunn County, Wisconsin. The request is to rezone the parcel described above from residential 1 to shoreline recreational. This is the only opportunity to address the county regarding these requests, as such interested persons are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Persons unable to attend may submit written comment by sending an email beforehand. Persons needing assistance in accessing the meeting to please call. Maps and supporting documents are on file and available for inspection at the Environmental Services Department, Planning and Zoning Division, located at 3001 US Highway 12 in Menominee, or the Dunn County website. This was published in the Tribune, Press Reporter, and the Colfax Messenger on July 6th and July 13th, 2022.
Sure.
All right, for the staff report. So the staff report is for the 3 requests that I previously read in the public hearing. So I will read the background. All 3 applicants have similar requests. Therefore, they will all be included in the staff report. Each group of parcel owners have filed their own rezone request. Separate motions must be made of each request. Each parcel owner will be able to present their own comments. The only applicants are neighbors who currently own the above described properties and would like to rezone the property so they may share a private campground and continue using the property for recreation. All 3 parcels were purchased after the Town of Tanner adopted county zoning in 2014. The Town of Tanner's comprehensive land use plan and the county's comprehensive land use plan for lands adjacent to the proposal indicate the future use of residential. And that's shown in Exhibit 5. Applicant number 1 is lot 14, owned by John and Monica Weber. Sorry, Joe and Monica Weber, John and Tricia Schmidt. The property owners are currently using the property for recreational purposes such as boating, ATV riding, and camping. The site is very limited for building due to proximity to the road, intersection, and lake. Their intention with this request is to use the land for camping, recreational purposes, store their UTV, and to access their dock and boat. The applicant number 2 is lot 18, owned by Red Cedar Landscape, which is Bruce and Katie Villeneuve. With the current zoning of R1 on the property, the site is very limited for building. The property owners currently have their RV camper on the property. They were unaware that under current zoning, they would not be able to place their RV on the property without a permanent residential structure. Along with their neighbors, they would like to rezone the property to shoreline recreational so they may keep the camper on the property during the summer. Their property is very similar to other properties in the area, many of which have campers and other recreational vehicles. The property is well maintained and mowed on a regular basis. Applicant number 3 is lot 19, owned by Terry and Rhonda Keister, Mark Keister, Kelly Gabriel, and Monica Weber. The property owners are currently using the property for recreational purposes, including boating, fishing, and camping. Similar to the other properties, the property is very limited for building. Their intention is to continue to use the land for camping and to access their dock and boat in the summer. I'm just going to go ahead here for a second to see what I all should read. Chair, would you like me to read the?
You can
full
summarize it if you want to.
report?
Yeah, yeah. It's fine. Pretty lengthy.
Oops. I actually do not want to miss something in the staff report that should have
Sure.
been read since
Take
I
your time.
wasn't able to.
Good time. Sure.
Go ahead.
take
So
your
I'm
time.
just going to read through it. So bear with me.
Sure.
Okay, the narrative. As per section 13.60056. The following narrative is submitted. Description of any proposed development and proposed use for the property and improvements. These are the proposal. Currently, the properties are used for recreational purposes and no permanent improvements are proposed. From what staff understands, the intent is to rezone these properties so they may continue using the land as they have been for recreational activities, which include using camping units, specifically mobile recreational vehicles. Zoning staff are unsure whether mobile recreational vehicles were not intended to be permitted principals uses within the shoreline zoning district, or if this was simply an oversight. Per ordinance 13.2.13.2, uses such as cabins, restaurants, nightclubs, taverns, rental properties, off-road recreational vehicles, and boats are permitted principal uses. Campgrounds are listed as special exception uses. The property owners have submitted permit application for a special exception campground. If this rezone request and subsequent special exception are approved, they may continue to use their mobile recreational vehicles on the property without building permanent residential structures. It should be noted that all three properties are within the flood fringe district. FEMA flood panel number 55033C0326C indicates this area is within zone AE and lies outside of the regulatory floodway. Section 15.2.4 of the Dunn County Floodplain Ordinance has provisions for public or private campgrounds in this area. Mobile recreational vehicles may be on site for less than 180 consecutive days and be both fully licensed and ready for highway use or meet elevation and anchoring requirements. The majority of land is outside the base flood elevation of 880.3 feet, which can be seen on Exhibit 4. Additional licensing is not required through Dunn County Health Department or DATCAP per ATCP 79.051A1. Explanation of why the current zoning district is not appropriate for the proposal. If left zoned as R1, the property owners would not be able to use their mobile recreational vehicles and other recreational purposes without building residential structures. Shoreline zoning setbacks and other zoning restrictions would make building nearly impossible. List of zoning districts within the proposal, past and current uses of the subject property, zoning districts and land uses of all properties within a quarter mile of the proposal. Adjacent lands in the neighborhood and land extending beyond a quarter mile of the proposal are shoreline recreational or residential. The past and current use of the property is for recreation. Properties within a quarter mile of the proposal are R1 with the exception of the adjacent lots to the southwest, which are all zoned shoreline recreational, which can be seen on Exhibit 6. Description of development trends within the general vicinity of the proposal, including any development to the proposal since it was placed in its current zoning district. The development trend in and around the area has been towards residential and shoreline district. See Exhibit 6 for that as well. And letter D, description of how the proposal is consistent with the land use element and any other relevant elements of the Dunn County Comprehensive Land Use Plan. The Dunn County Comprehensive Land Use Plan indicates this area as residential. The Tainer Town Board and Planning Commission have both recommended approval of this request. An assessment. The density, scale, and use of the proposal fits the neighborhood's developmental pattern. The proposal is not impacted by wetlands. The proposal is within the flood fringe district. The proposal is not impacted by the county's farmland preservation plan. The Town of Tainer and Planning Commission have recommended approval of this rezone. And the staff recommendation. Staff recommend approval of the rezone request for applicant 1, applicant 2, and applicant 3 as described above. And that ends the full staff report. Following are the different exhibits that were called out in the staff reports, along with the application. let me see. There were letters part of their application as well. Chair, if you would like any of the letters read in, we could do that, but these may be the applicants that are.
I think they're in the record already. They'll be submitted with your report.
Okay.
Did you point out exactly where the property is? On that, yeah, on that map.
So to give you an idea of where we are at, that larger parcel to the west of the road there is Elk Point Tavern.
And where are the parcels?
They are outlined in the blue on that map.
Okay.
That's one of the parcels, and they're all.
They're all in
In a-
a row along there.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Thank you. Anything else, Tracy?
I do not have anything else
Okay.
to add.
All right. Does the committee have any questions of Tracy about the report?
Tom?
Yeah,
May I?
Mr. Kinnear.
I was just had a question about the narrative on number one. Where zoning staff are unsure whether mobile recreational vehicles were not intended to be permitted principal use. I don't get it. What's she trying to say?
Like it ends that maybe it was an oversight that camping is not an allowable use in a shoreland district.
Meaning it should be? Is that what it?
Meaning that the zoning office feels that, yes, it would be a good fit in the shoreland district,
Okay.
but it's not listed as a
Well,
use
Yeah,
in the ordinance. So that's why we can't just because we feel that, we can't just allow them. So that's hence the reason for the rezone and the special exception
right.
request.
That's why you have to do the special exception. No.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah. Yes, Diane.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tracy, why at this point did this issue come up? The question was posed in our public comment as well.
I do not feel comfortable answering that question because I do not know the full background of
Okay,
this report.
that's
If
fine. That's fine, Tracy.
if we feel we need to postpone or table something until I can either get an answer
No.
for any of this.
No, it
Yeah.
might not be particularly germane. I was curious.
Yep. I just do not want to speak out of hand or for something that I do not know 100% of the information on at this point.
So our zoning administrator is not able to attend today, and Tracy's stepping up to the plate with no warm up. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Supervisor Burke.
Just a comment. I think it's an oversight because it doesn't make sense for shoreline recreational and not have a camper there. I mean, it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
at all. So I think it was an oversight. And I think we maybe should look at it in the future to maybe correct that oversight.
Yeah. One of those items that we have found occasionally and noted as needing some further review. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for your report, Tracy. Really good. Is there anyone in the public that would like to provide some comments? You don't have to. Okay, I guess we're okay then. So if there are no other questions from the committee, I'll close the public hearing. And then without objection, I will move item 9, which is action on the rezone request up to right after the public hearing, so up to now. Is there any objection to that? Okay, so now we're out of public hearing. We are back in regular meeting and we are on item 9, which is action on the rezone requests. The first one would be the Weber and Schmidt rezone request. Any further discussion on that? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion that we take it to the county board for approval.
Supervisor Bjork moves. Second,
I will second it.
Supervisor Kinnear seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries. Item B, action on the Red Cedar landscape rezone request. Can I
I'll
have-
move approval on that one, Mr. Chairman.
Morehouse moves.
Second.
There's a Vogels or Berniers, seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Carries. Item C, action on the Custer, Gabriel, and Weber rezone request. Could I have a motion?
I will so move.
Supervisor Kinnear,
I'll second that
Supervisor
motion.
Bjork, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Uh, Before we move on, if you can indulge me, I don't want to embarrass Tracy here, just a minute. Since she stepped in, did a good job. So this week, Kelly McCullough got a email which she forwarded to me from a constituent. Sort of thanking Tracy for her work. And I'd like to read it for the committee because I think she deserves to have our acknowledgement of it. Dear Mr. McCullough, we would like to acknowledge the superior and professional assistance we've had from Tracy Albertson, who is the zoning enforcement officer. We have presented so many complex issues to her that were unanticipated and so confusing when we decided to build a cabin on attractive land in Dunn County. Besides wading through the process of discovering the actual boundaries of our property, she was able to navigate so many issues that seemed insurmountable to us at the time. Communications were timely, answered all questions, and above all, she was correct and accurate 100% of the time. We expect that every time going forward now. As with many constituents who come to her office with no clear understanding about zoning, permit processes, easements, county board meetings, and all the requirements to proceed with the building, Tracy was an amazing source of stability and wisdom. A valuable employee like that needs to be recognized in some manner. We deeply appreciate all her hard work on behalf to help us achieve this goal. A heartfelt thank you to the zoning office, especially Tracy, without whom we would have had a much more difficult time in the completion of this cabin. We look forward to many visits to beautiful Dunn County in the future. Sincerely, Mary Ann Packlick Geisler. Thank you. Congratulations. We'll no raise as a result of that of Chris. See, Chris is here. She's back me up on it. Okay. And thanks for stepping in, really. Hope Ann's okay. I'm kind of worried about her now. Let's see. So the next item is review of the groundwater ad hoc committee recommendations. I think Chase is gonna take us through. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, let's do that too. Sure. Okay. Thanks, Chase. So without objection, we'll move number 8 up also, so we can get that taken care of. Mr. Carlson, you want to read that for us?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So what we have before us this morning is a variance request of the land division ordinance. The applicant is Mr. Larry Bowe, and he's actually with us in the back of the room. He owns 2 properties. They are located at E3923 and E3929, 370th Avenue in Menominee. They're located in part of the Northwest Northeast, Section 21, Town 27 North, Range 13 West, Town of Dunn. The parcels are actually, that he's looking at creating, are actually 54 hundredths of an acre and 55 hundredths of an acre. The parent property is zone general ag. And he's requesting to create 2 lots that do, or 2 new lots that do not meet the requirement of 30,000 square feet of contiguous buildable area as required by section 16.46 sub 6 of our county land division ordinance. So right now, the 2 properties total 1.1 contiguous acres. I'm gonna skip ahead here. So this is our GIS website. You can see the 2 parcels here with the names on. So both of those together equal 1.1 acres of contiguous property. The property contains 2 existing homes, each with their own respective well and septic system. So the applicant would like to create 2 new lots such that each residence can be sold separately. So right now, I know it may be a little confusing. There are 2 tax parcels out here. One of the properties, let me grab the deeds here. One of the properties was acquired in January of 1983, or October of 1978 was the first one. That was the easterly property, the larger one, if you will. And then the westerly property was acquired a few years later in January of 1983. So they were legally acquired at the time. No surveying was required. We didn't have a land division ordinance in place at the time. And now with our new ordinance, we look at contiguously owned property. Each existing platted lot or outlot constitutes its own contiguous tract. However, these were never platted. They were just done by meets and bounds descriptions. So we look at those as one contiguously owned property. That property just so happens to have 2 different residences on with wells and septics. So again, he would like to get them on their own, get them surveyed and get them on their own certified survey map lots. So the creator to do that is going to require the preparation of a certified survey map, which triggers our land division ordinance. And that standard in there of 30,000 square feet of contiguous buildable area cannot be met on these, even though we have all the improvements there. They've been there for many, many years. So right now, the westerly lot, when we look at contiguous buildable area, so this is how it's existing. Let me get down into what's being proposed. So this is the proposition. And it may be a little tough to see on here, but the lighter dark line, if you will, is the existing deed line. The proposed line is this darker line, which is running on an angle. That line is designed in such a fashion that it just barely meets the minimum setback requirements from the principal structures here. So what they are proposing does meet zoning setbacks. However, they both proposed lots fall short of that 30,000 square foot requirement of contiguous buildable area. The westerly lot right now has about 12,700 square feet, and the easterly lot has about just over 13,000. So both of them are considerably short. They're not even halfway to meeting that requirement. But again, I will stress all the improvements are there. Zoning, so I'll get into the analysis. The reason for the 30,000 square feet of contiguous buildable area, I guess in my mind, is more for vacant lots that are, looking at proposed future development. Is there enough room on there for the home, the well, the septic, and its replacement? Well, here we have we have 3 of the 4 things already on the lots. So the biggest item that we're looking at as staff is, where is the replacement septic system going to go if these 2 lots are created? So zoning staff has looked at this, Michelle, our sanitation specialist, and she looked at the location and layout of the current septic system and then what room is available for the replacements. In her estimation, each one of the newly proposed lots are likely to have enough room for a replacement system. And I use the word likely. We can't say for 100% certainty. Soil tests haven't been done. We don't know how many, bedrooms are going to be there when the system is replaced, certain sizing requirements. But right now, staff, it doesn't rise to the level of concern that, hey, this is a bad idea. Where are we're gonna end up with a holding tank here someday. So staff are fairly certain that there will be enough room on each of these proposed lots to install a replacement septic system if and when the current system should fail. I'm not going to go through all of the variance requirements in my staff report. You guys have had this now for about a week. If there's any questions, I certainly can go through any one of these items in our purpose statement in the ordinance, but I'm going to skip through that for now. Are there any questions, I guess, before I proceed on the staff analysis or the questions we weighed the request against? Seeing none, I will go down then to our recommendation. So our staff recommendation is approval of the variance request. The creation of a separate lot for each of the existing residences and their associated improvements is consistent with the purpose and intent of Chapter 16. I'm going to go through. So here's the application that was submitted. Fees have been paid. We already looked at the sketches. This is a letter. This is a written brief that's required as part of the application from Mr. Bowe. I'll just read it quick. It's not very long. The two tax parcels zoned as GA were built upon in or around 1980, and the tax parcel lines actually run through one of the residences. Ownership of the two tax parcels by the same entity makes it viewed as one contiguous property. Minimum contiguous area does not allow the contiguous property to be split so that the residences can be separated, and creates a hardship in that the residences cannot be sold separately. As this situation has been in existence for around 40 years, granting of this variance would in no way harm the public. So that concludes my staff report and the applicant's application. Are there any questions of me? And I'll just remind everyone the applicant is here. So if you have any questions for Mr. Bowe, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer those as well.
Any questions? Bo, do you have any comments you want to make, or? Okay, thank you. All right. No, there are no questions. And could anyone want to make a motion to approve the variance request?
I'll make that motion that we approve it.
Supervisor Bjork, thank you.
Second, barrier.
Thank you. Yeah. Supervisor Bjork and Supervisor Barrier have made the motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Thanks for coming. We're gonna get out of here pretty early today, maybe. We'll see. So then I think if I don't miss anything, I have to miss at least one thing. I missed that already, so I think I've taken care of my duties this week. Review the groundwater ad hoc committee recommendations. Chase.
Okay, good morning, everyone. So this format is what we've been using as kind of an update for the recommendations provided by the groundwater ad hoc committee. We've changed many of them from red to a different color, which I didn't set this up, but I think that's a good thing. But I will say that there are some of these on here, such as the stormwater erosion control ordinances and some other things that, just due to logistics and funding that we haven't really truly successfully completed as we all agree, but progress has been made to some degree, and certainly those things may need to be revisited in the future. With that said, there are a couple things here that I've highlighted in blue. They both say the same thing, but they're related to basically establishing support for agricultural diversity and economic development and water quality strategy within the county. I've been, had the opportunity to be invited as part of a group that is started here within the Red Cedar Basin, looking at managed intensive grazing and marketing aspects to that to help meet those goals. Certainly, I am not the expert in it. I think the one that may have the most information is sitting right here, as our Chairman Tom Quinn has been involved with that from the get-go, but certainly our involvement as staff have been here in the later stages of the discussion and looking at what our role as county department will play in this bigger project. And there is plenty of work left to be done, but there's a lot of traction that's been made. So I'd be happy to answer and discuss any of our involvement from a staff aspect, but Tom, if you wouldn't mind kind of giving a little more of your background, I think that'd be
Yeah, thanks.
appropriate.
Thanks, Chase. It's really appreciate you taking your time out of your staff work to do the sort of extra, but related, but extra work. So this idea has been incubating within some of the folks that are part of the various Red Cedar watershed partnership groups, and especially the conference group. And the idea is that to pull people together from different stakeholders from different aspects of the watershed to think about how could we develop a collaborative partnership to promote premium marketing for farm products in Red Cedar, and identifying perhaps that grass-fed beef is a kind of a low-hanging fruit in all of that, because it's managed grazing has proven clean water benefits, and market, especially during the COVID situation, marketing of local meat has been increasing and desired by a lot of consumers. And we're fortunate to still have a pretty strong infrastructure of processing plants in the area. Not many places in the country are as fortunate as we are. And many of them are expanding due to the governor's incentive programs. So this group, we pulled together, a few of us pulled together an informal working group. Chase has been participating in it to just begin exploring what options there might be. And the idea is to focus primarily on the economic aspects. How can diversified farming, particularly diversified farming that promotes clean water, serve as an economic development strategy for Dunn County and other counties in the watershed? So that's going to go forward. We're going to have some additional get-togethers, bring additional people into the operation. It'll certainly involve a key participation from conservation departments, especially here in Dunn County. But that's sort of where things are going. And I think if we focus on some of the more low-hanging fruit again, then maybe we can identify other opportunities for that in the future too. Any number of ways we could look at it. So that's where we are. And there'll be some meetings coming up. And any questions?
Yes, Tom, please. You were really promoting like your grazing for grass-fed beef. Would it be the same if it was grass-fed beef, but it was on hay ground that was commercially like provided to them, because.
Yeah, no, I mean, grazing requires, in this climate, as you know, requires putting up hay for feed.
But
So,
even in the summertime, if you look at your lawns right
yeah,
now.
no, I agree. And we haven't, this is one of the questions that could come up, Gary, is, like, so what do you mean by clean water farming practices? And that has to be figured out. And it's got to be figured out in the context of the reality of farmers in the area. And there are some farmers who do manage grazing, but also finish their cattle with grain. And I don't think that we would intend that would be excluded. So it's like those kinds of questions are what we're going to talk through and try and figure out a strategy. So that would be a way, as Chase pointed out, one way that we could begin getting at this idea of encouraging diversified agriculture in the county. Hopefully there are others too, but there's certainly there appear to be some resources available in terms of grant funding, loan funds, technical assistance availability that maybe if we're structured right, that we could have access to in the county.
Cause I know it's hard to believe, but I do listen to like your public TV once in a while, and a couple days
Well,
ago,
that's not hard to believe at all, Gary.
no. They had that guy from Stevens Point, Kevin Masaryk.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Okay, it's a
Yeah.
real good one, but he was saying too that they're trying to get this third crop to help the farmers to diversify. So it's not just corn, beans,
And that would be a future step, would be identifying other grain crops. So we have more
But they have to
diversity in
get a
our.
market for it. That's what they're
That's the
working on.
biggest problem. And you have to be able to, if it requires processing, you have to be able to do that. So there may be ways to do that. And we need to start thinking about that. I mean, a while back, I think I mentioned to you, I think in the meeting that I had gone to a workshop a while back where they had Canadian farmers in who were talking about how they had set up a equipment sharing co-op to do things like and I think it was set up by the local government to allow farmers who don't want to invest in a grain drill for limited purposes to do reseeding and stuff, to be able to have that to share bigger than the 8-footer that we have right now. But there'd be other things too that might be, you wouldn't be able to afford it as an individual, but if we had some kind of a structure like that, might make it easier for people to diversify a little bit. So, Chase, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess looking at from a county land and water conservation division standpoint and our involvement in this is quite encouraging to know that there is opportunities like this being considered, because for us to constantly look for ways to be creative in implementation of our work, much less our ordinance for meeting tolerable soil loss, nutrient management planning, looking for other ways that can drive cleaner water than just, sometimes it feels like it's all riding on our shoulders to some degree. So creating an atmosphere and an environment within the county that can promote a set of standards that would hopefully in the end meet the goals of some of our water quality challenges, both surface water and groundwater as it relates to the groundwater ad hoc committee recommendations, is encouraging. Now, as we move forward and work out some of the details, what does that look like for us within our division, with our staff? How do we incorporate that? What does that workload look like? But certainly when there's opportunities like this, if this is successful, those are things we need to jump on and take advantage of. So just speaking about real quick on the third crop and rotation, we have the field day coming up on Thursday out at the demo farm, which that has been corn, bean, third crop and rotation, small grain, soil health system for many years now. So that's a good example of how it can be successful from an agronomy standpoint, but still the market for processing that small grain is something in need. But certainly projects like this could be a good way to initiate extra thought on how we might do that. So that's all I have, I guess, as far as groundwater ad hoc goes. We're sticking to our schedule right now as to how we're trying to tick off some of these things throughout the year. There's a few things left that we want to try to address with all of you, at least have a conversation about, but we're certainly making some progress on that. I did present to the All Towns Association unit, Dunn County unit meeting last night, talked about the groundwater ad hoc committee recommendations, talked about the funding for the ARPA funds for groundwater monitoring program starting next year. Tried to solicit the towns and their involvement in any interested citizens. So primarily hoping for commitment from towns at the town halls to have a routine well that we can go back to for future monitoring, but certainly requesting that they engage their citizens in us, giving us a call and getting their well tested. So no one threw any tomatoes at me or ran me out the door. So hopefully that's good.
Thanks for doing that. What time is the demonstration thing on Thursday again?
1 to 3 on Thursday.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Any other questions? Okay, now I think that's all of our official business. If I'm wrong, tell me. Any announcements? A heads up, I think it's August 12th, I think, on Thursday, is the day that the REU students that Stout has do their presentations down at the Raw Deal, starting at 5 o'clock. So interesting to talk to those young folks. Okay,
August 11th.
August 11th.
Thursday,
Okay, so
August
Thursday or
11th.
11th. Okay. Okay. Next meeting is August 9th. And
I
we
would
are
have a-
adjourned.
I would have a comment on that.
Yeah.
Given the petition with the Tanner Lake Rehabilitation District, there has been some consideration about maybe having a special meeting of this committee if it is referred to here by county board, full county board, just to make sure that the timing, otherwise the public hearing for that Lake District would have
Right.
to occur at the next committee meeting on August 9th. So there has been a little bit of internal discussion about whether we need to have a special meeting on that. So just wanted to give you a heads up. We'll should know more tomorrow night after full county board. So
If we did, when would the likely be, Chase?
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to
Okay.
work with Nick and others on that now. Just to
Okay.
see based on some of Andrew, the county clerk's review of the petitions and trying to coordinate all that. But certainly if there isn't a special meeting set up, it is a class 1 notice. So that notice has to go out basically tomorrow evening to get into the paper in time. So that decision kind of needs to be made soon. If there is no special meeting, then it will be held as part of the August 9th regularly scheduled PR&D meeting, which is the last really date that we could get this public hearing held. So.
Okay. If that's all, then we're adjourned.